What's up, guys, and welcome to a new episode of the Early Prelim podcast where I talk about the UFC. Another short episode. I'm pretty busy right now, but thankfully for me, I don't have to go into much detail about the pay per view because that's the full preview. What the full preview is for, right? So we'll be talking later in the week about the pay per view in full detail. I'll be breaking down all the fights as usual. So why don't we get into the big news that's just hit like a couple of hours ago? So the UFC uh where the UFC has been in talks with different companies to see who is going to be the new host of the product, right? After like a kind of like disastrous like deal with ESPN, especially for Americans because you guys have to deal with ESPN Plus, which apparently like sucks, right? So now the UFC is moving to Paramount and the pay-per-views are dead. Like no more pay-per-views. Which I feel like for fans, great news. Pay-per-view prices were ridiculous, especially with the deterioration of the product and on the weak cards too. But also like the UFC were like bragging, oh we're the biggest sport in the whole world and we're going to Netflix and like Paramount is like I mean, I don't know. Let me, you guys, Americans, let me know if Paramount is a big deal or not. I don't know. I mean, we have Paramount over here, the streaming service, as it's not very popular at all. Um, but yeah, so my take on this whole situation is that I mostly don't care. First, I don't really care about the business side. What I do care about is fighters getting paid what they're worth. So, this is a huge deal. Apparently, this is like $7.7 billion over 7 years. So, like more than 1 billion a year, for the UFC. Um, but I really doubt that's going into the fighters' pockets. The UFC is making a harder and harder. I mean, it's they're making a priority to make the product, the UFC, the brand, to sell over the fighters. So they are like very careful with the stars. Obviously, they need some like stars, and Alex Pereira and Ilia Topuria have been that for the UFC lately. You know the UFC is kind of careful. They don't want them to be super big. They needed them to be like a degree of big to sell pay per views. And what worries me about this is that maybe it's gonna get worse, right? The UFC sells a lot as a brand alone, and maybe they will now. This is like a bigger motivation to not sell, uh, to not promote the fighters and becoming stars. So it might be a situation like that, right? But I'm happy that that people will have to stop paying for pay-per-views. It was a bad model, to be honest. It was an outdated model. What I hope for me is that because outside the US, it depends on the region. Because like uh, for me, there are two plans of Fight Pass. There's the regular one that is like $8, and then there's the like I don't know what's the name, like the full experience or premium. I don't know, but it's like $16, and I get access to all pay per views. So as long as that keeps the same for me, because I get access to everything, right? All fight nights, contender series, all pay per views, all of that. Um, so as long as I keep that, I don't really care about this. I really hope the fighters get a better cut of the pie this time around, but I don't really think so. So why don't we get into the recap of last Saturday's event? So we have UFC Fight Night Dolidze versus Fluffy Hernandez on the warehouse, obviously. And the main event was the high point of this one, to be honest. Fluffy Hernandez put on a fantastic performance, man. It was just great, man. So what made this fight interesting? First, Dolidze is pretty big, a decent gas tank, hits hard, dangerous in transitions, but most importantly, Dolidze a very high level grappler. Very dangerous, especially from the bottom, which is very interesting here. because he like has a very sneaky leg lock game. And Fluffy on the other hand, like he pushes a base, a transition based fighter, a lot of cool stuff against the fence, using wrestling, using mat returns, using leg rights, wrist rights, um, and making like I talked about this in a video that I released talking about Fluffy Hernandez and Zero, who also saw action in this card. So go check it out. Probably links in the description. But the thing is that Fluffy like very wrestling heavy assault, and he mixes in the strikes, he mixes in the jiu-jitsu, but mostly based about around wrestling. So it was interesting to see what was going to happen when they go to the ground, if Dolidze was able to do something from his back, and how they fare on the feet. The answer to all of those questions is that Fluffy just clears. No, the dynamic of this fight was that Fluffy was like aggressive on the feet. Both guys landing heavy leg kicks. Fluffy has been very susceptible to leg kicks, but he was landing some nasty ones of his own in this one. Drinking a little bit of tea today. But yeah, Fluffy mostly winning, and like Fluffy was looking like comfortable inside the pocket, taking a bit of risks, but he was like rolling with the shots that he was getting hit. He was countering a lot with the right hand, which I loved. And Fluffy has like underrated heavy hands here. Wish he went to the body more with some punches though. Um, and then what Fluffy was doing, he was like tagging Dolidze mostly with the 1-2, closing, grabbing a clinch, getting some kind of takedown, and then Dolidze would turtle immediately. And Fluffy, instead of like taking the back or like trying to turn it over to get it to top position, he was just like taking referee position. So he was like um, getting behind him when Dolidze is turtle on the ground, turtling on top of him. Sometimes he would grab like a bicep or grab the waist, or he would like grab an ankle, grab some right of some kind. He would just like unload a few strikes, and he would get up there after that. And if Dolidze is like trying to like get up carelessly, he would land the strikes while he was trying to get up and put him down again. But he was not like engaging in the jiu-jitsu part. I think like he could have probably like hung in there, but I think that it was kind of smart to like let's not get into that, because like I make one wrong mistake and at least I can like break my leg. So I think Fluffy made the right decision there. And the first round was kind of slow, and then the Fluffy started like kicking his ass, man. And the lead's a pretty solid gas tank. Yeah, he was super tired against Imavov, and he was still fighting hard on those rounds 4 and 5. And Imavov was having like sketchy moments. Fluffy was just kicking his ass, man. It was like a biblical ass beating, man. It was brutal shit. Fluffy looked fantastic here. I got some flack on Twitter for saying that I don't think that. I think that Dolidze has potential to be troublesome for Chimaev and Rikus Duplessis, so I think it was very impressive. Obviously, style like fights, but I think it was very impressive that Hernandez has like this kind of like ass kicking on him, because like, and people were like, well, what do you see? And it's like the leads against Drikus is like, yeah, Drikus is the better striker in some ways, but at the same time, you gotta remember Drikus is wild as shit, and the leads is very durable. He's hard, and then Drikus wouldn't have the success with the takedowns that he would have against other people. And against Chimaev is very interesting. There's a chance that Chimaev just takes the leads to the cage and chokes him out immediately, or that he knocks him out on the feet. But at the same time, like you remember, like Gilbert Burns tried to play like off his back against Chimaev. He tried to create some movement, play butterflies, and Chimaev wanted none of that. So who knows? Maybe Dolidze can scare Chimaev off of the grappling part a little bit, especially if he can like get away of the cage and create movement. Kamaru Usman was also very successful about creating movement in open space when Chimaev didn't have the cage to smother him. So there are some like vulnerabilities that I think Dolidze is like actually like pretty well equipped to deal with Chimaev in there. I'm talking about Chimaev and Rikus like more than necessary, because obviously they are the the main event of this Saturday's um, pay per view. But we'll be talking about that. I guess I better get used to calling them like numbered events or something, because they will stop being pay per views the next year. But yeah, just fantastic fight by Fluffy. I think Fluffy has a very good argument of being the best middleweight in the world right now. I think he matches up. pretty well with both Dricus and Chimaev. I think the only like scary fight for him, other than those two, is like the Reader. And I feel like Hernandez wins that fight, to be quite honest. Like the knees to the body are very scary. But like, did you guys see how tired was the Reader like since round three of that fight with Whitaker? Like, and tell me, do you think that guy beats Hernandez? Like, he's not tapping out Anthony Hernandez when he's tired, man. So yeah, maybe that's the fight to make. Fluffy versus the Reader for a title shot after the winner of Imavov and Kayo gets their title shot. I'm all for that. Co-main event saw Steve Eryk coming back to action against Ode Osborne. Steve Eryk was originally supposed to fight Peace of Mind, Hyun Park by Boy, who stepped out in short notice to fight Tyra last week. So we got Ode Osborne on very short notice. This fight was contested at bantamweight uh, to allow these two very big flyweights to make weight here. First round, Ode Osborne hurts Steve Eryk coming in with a right hook, and then hurts him some more, out scrambles him. Um, People got very mad for me calling that a 10-8, and it's like grab a book and read the read the scoring criteria. Like, we know the only reason we don't have 10-8s anymore is because Dana hates them because they can lead to potential draws, and Dana White does not want to see draws. And you know that Dana has a lot of influence, obviously, on the sport. But judges are supposed to score around like that as a 10-8 for Ode Osborne. Let's be real here. Round two was very, very close. Eryk was doing better, but Ode was still landing some good shots. Eryk landed some decent shots off takedowns, like not getting the takedowns and landed like a big right hand over the top. I moved my left there. But Ode still caught him with a few right hooks, a few 1-2s, a few kicks. It was very close. I feel like it was more like comeback optics that made everyone side with Eryk on round two. Then round three was actually for Eryk. So Eryk got the unanimous decision. Don't think he deserved that, to be honest. It was a draw at best, and I think a win for Ode is a better scorecard than any win for Eryk because that first round was like no questions asked. A 10-8 round. So yeah, Eryk. I feel like Eryk hated fighting like a long southpaw. I feel like that was like a sneaky a bad matchup for him, especially short notice. He didn't have the preparation. He was not fighting the right sparring partners there. But at least he dug it out. Like Eryk is very tough. Like mentally, you can tell he's resourceful. He is very well rounded. So maybe his days as a top talent are not over, despite him looking very sketchy here, right? So a lot of people are like, "Oh, Steve Eryk was never good," and nah, Steve Eryk is good, man. Uh, I might not be, excuse me, I might not be a big fan, but he's a very solid fighter, and he's huge for 125 too. He was having to fight a guy that's just like his size here. Before that, we had Jasmine Lucindo against Angela Hill. What I didn't like about this matchup for Angela Hill, because I'm an Angela Hill fan, is that Lucindo has very good gas tank despite like throwing so hard, being so dynamic. It was pretty much that what sealed the deal for Hill. It was close. Lucindo was missing a lot, but she was throwing so much volume that she was still like kind of winning those rounds. He was not finding like the big shots to change the fight around. Was not finding the takedowns. Lucinda is just like well put together, even though she doesn't have a lot of depth in any area. She's like very strong and she's kind of smart. She got that takedown on the third round. That was just what she needed because the output was starting to drop off a little bit. And Angela Hill was like willing to fight hard despite being tired, but oh no, can do. So yeah, Angela Hill, man. I maintain Angela Hill has the most deceiving record. You see, like 18-15, which is her current record. That doesn't reflect on her quality. Angela Hill is a very good fighter, man. And Lucindo is one of the most promising super young fighters in the sport. Some people are like very down on her after losing to oh, what's her name? The girl with the blonde bob. Amanda Lemos. Yeah, but Lemos is a beast, man. She's like insanely athletic and she's tough to deal for a very young fighter that doesn't have a lot of depth. Um, you see a very dynamic athletic fighter in Zhang Weili had to fight like a very like well researched fight. Shout out to my boy Ghost who made a deep study for that fight. But she had to execute like a very specific game plan to beat Amanda Lemos. And I don't blame Lucindo being this young, despite having a decent amount of experience. She's like 24 fights into her career, but still, like I still think the future can be bright for Jasmine Lucindo. Champion, I don't know if she's champion material, but she's like top five material for sure. Andrew Fili fought my boy Christian Rodriguez. Andrew Fili my boy too, to be quite honest. And the big takeaway from this is, and this is not cope because I like Christian Rodriguez, but it's very apparent that it's not only the size that he holds him back at 145, it's also that he doesn't have a style to deal with the size. Christian Rodriguez does not have like a lot of like super long range tools. He was having a lot of trouble with the jab of Andre Fili and dealing with the counters when closing the distance. And then when grappling, he has some like good entries, but Fili is like way bigger, physically stronger. You can tell. Fili got a takedown on the third round. Rodriguez is a very good scrambler, but you can tell he was struggling with the length and the weight of Fili on top of him. Still, Rodriguez put on a decent performance. I felt, and Rafili looked great here. Very good like late performance career here. Zero, I really wished he could figure out a way to go back to 135. I think he would be tremendous in that weight class if he could make it. I understand sometimes fighters do not look super heavy and they are a lot heavier than they are. Especially I was joking with the boys because these Mexican guys with like wide hips, right? Like Anthony Hernandez is another guy that struggles to make weight. And Zero, man. And these guys do not look like super jacked. Um, but they're kind of heavy, man. But I don't know, man. I really hope Christian Rodriguez can make it back to 135. He said that that boat sailed already, but I don't know, man. I don't feel like it's a bad mix of size and style for him because like he would be a way more effective wrestler and more effective striking at range when he's not fighting that guys that are this long at 145. The jump for the size from 135 to 145 is insane, and I feel like the bantamweights in the UFC are huge, man. They're like insanely big, but the jump is still crazy when you go to 145 because the featherweights just are big relative to their division in the UFC. But yeah, good for Fili though, man. Good for Fili. I feel like he's an underrated fighter. He has been inconsistent, but he showed up for this one. Uh, Zero was able to hurt him on that third round though. So that those takedowns kind of saved Andre Fili. And I feel like that's another problem for Zero is that being the smaller guy, he kind of like takes a while to figure out stuff. He also beat Melquisa Acosta on that third round. He also won that third round, right? But because he's kind of small, um, he likes like a second year. It's hard for him to. It's kind of hard for him to get those finishes late into the fight, right? Because he can get smaller in the clinch. He's not the biggest puncher in this division, so it's hard for him to like make the finishes happen when he needs them. He also like he can fight with urgency, but you can tell that it's not his nature. For him, he would Rodriguez wants to have a fight where he's like controlling the pace of a fight. And like fighting from behind is not ideal for someone with his style. He has a very like young veteran style, and he's better off if he's like winning the first round at the very least to have more leeway, and that's hasn't been happening at 145. And the UFC has been making him fight like these huge guys like Andre Fili, Nakisa Acosta, Juicy J, Rosa. Like Rosa is huge, man. And Rodriguez was taking him to town before getting submitted with the guillotine. But yeah, man, I wish Zero could make it back to 135. Talking about 135, we had a fight between Jan Matsumoto and Max Jones. Split decision. I did not agree with this one. I think Jones did enough on round two to win that, and he very clearly won round one. Jan Matsumoto clearly won round three, but it was a close fight. It was decent. Matsumoto is like not super interesting to me. I don't like quite get his process, but he just keeps going at it, and I like that he kicks a lot. He kicks the legs and the body. He was going southpaw just to blast that southpaw body kick on Max Jones. and he was using the leg kicks to open up the boxing. And his boxing is not like sweet science, but he throws hard. And one thing that I do agree with the commentary here. I don't remember if it was Dominic Cruz who said this, but this is that Yamatsumoto throws like everything hard, but he's very economical with his movement, and I feel like that contributes to his great cardio because he's like never tired on those third rounds, despite throwing with hit. But he's not like overthrowing. He's not putting himself out of position. He's just like throwing hard, but remaining in his stance. He's not like getting tired throwing those punches, and I feel like that's cool. Matsumoto is also very young, kind of experienced, so kind of like similar to Lucindo. Ceiling probably lower because men's bantamweight is a brutal division, man. But Matsumoto is very promising. I thought Mike Jones looked very good here, to be honest. Got tired on that third, but it was and he wasn't like out. It was just like Matsumoto was able to pour on the volume on that third round. Miles Jones was not like just shooting time and time again, desperate for the legs like in other fights. He was not like super tired. He was like tired, but he was like holding himself, and I think he won the fight. So good for both guys. It was a solid fight. Christian Leroy Duncan fought Eryk Anders. I've been like thrashing Christian Leroy Duncan, describing him that he should fight Shara Bullet for the title of the most boring, exciting fighter out there. Uh, yeah, didn't change my opinion. Like it was not like a super cool fight. Eryk Anders is very old, man. He's not as dynamic as he once was, and even when he was dynamic, he was kind of boring. Leroy Duncan was here like kicking the legs a lot, and I feel like that set up that spinning back elbow, and then the follow up shots were kind of nasty. Like Duncan is an athlete, he's dynamic. I feel like he really needs to get better boxing, man. Apparently, he's training out of the Leon Edwards gym. I don't know if that was always the case, but there were some like Leon Edwards looks inside the clinch, especially which I like for Leroy Duncan. But I really wish he got better at boxing. I feel like he would be a lot better. Julius Walker fought Rafael Cerqueira, and yeah, Walker like looking sketchy on the feet at times, man. That long range striking defense kind of not there. I like him when he gets going with like the tip, and he tries to close the distance to land like knees and elbows. Working a lot of more top game here than in other fights where he stays like on the feet and the clinch. Cerqueira was solid from bottom position, like technically, but Walker was like one step ahead. And then when Cerqueira like hurt Walker super bad in that third round, Walker was able to like just survive, find grappling situations, and ride it out. So good for Julius Walker, who gets his first UFC win. And as always, I gotta mention that he follows me on Twitter, so he's a certified boy. But yeah, I mean Walker is fun to watch, especially when he gets to the clinch. He's cool. Elias Smith fought Toshiomi Kasama, and Kasama just selling out for leg locks and deep half. And he was getting smashed by Elijah Smith from top position, man. Smith was landing hammers on this guy. It was looking rough, and then Kasama like gets on a triangle, not like completely locked on, but he might be in position to work that triangle, and Elijah Smith just like power bombs him like Rampage versus Arona style and puts him out. It was a bad knockout, man. It was awful. And I was saying like those like slam off the triangles, like they usually involve some like head clash that it's like sometimes the biggest contributor to the knockout, and that always gets overlooked. I'm not saying that I'm not saying turn this fight into a DQ. I'm just saying that that's something interesting that always happens in these slam knockouts. So that's curious. But yeah, Elijah Smith, very athletic, was looking solid from top position. But the ground and pound, I love that, man. And then the power bomb, god damn, man. Jocelyn Edwards fought Priscilla Cachoeira. And Edwards was looking like uncomfortable because Cachoeira was like closing in the distance. And Cachoeira, I mean, like a lot of people hate her, and with good reason. She's like super dirty and not dirty in like a good way. She's like awful inside the cage. But Cachoeira has some good qualities. She hits very hard. has some good instincts inside the clinch. I mean, inside the pocket, and she finds the good punches to put people away. So she was making Jocelyn Edwards uncomfortable. But then Jocelyn Edwards was starting to like. I feel like maybe her camp. She said on the post fight interview that they knew that she was going to find the punch, and yeah, Cachoeira has a problem with exposing her left side big time. So Edwards threw like super wide. Like she threw like a left hook that Cachoeira caught in the right arm, and then she threw like a super wide right hand, and Cachoeira did not see that one coming at all, and she got put out. Big knockout for Jocelyn Ehlers. Second one in a row. Because if you guys go back and listen to older episodes of the podcast, like I've been a Jocelyn Edwards hater, but before this fight, she finally looked like she's using her athleticism to really put it on girls, and again, working working out this time. So Jocelyn Edwards might be buying me over, man. Uros Medic fought Gilbert Urbina, and yeah, Urbina was training with John Jones, I think I heard. So I said during the live broadcast, like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this Uros Medic knockout. And boy, it did. Fight starts. Urbina catches Uros Medic with a straight right, puts him down. Like kind of like flash knockdown. Like Uros Medic seems like he was fine a moments later. And then Uros Medic with his own straight left, he puts him out bad, like beautiful straight left. Uros Medic fighting out of King's MMA. Um, I was kind of a hater of Medic at lightweight, but I've been enjoying his welterweight run. He's like an action fighter. He's fun. He's mean, man. He's mean inside the pocket, inside the. I mean, during clinch breaks, that's how he got Semmelsberger, right? Um, and that straight left is beautiful. Gabriela Fernandez fought Julia Stoliarenko, and bad matchmaking. Like, why would you make this? Like Fernandez has two very good wins against Carly Judis and Wang Kong. I mean, those have aged like fantastically, right? And Soliarenko has not found a lot of success. And yeah, Gabriela Fernandez is just way better athlete, but not super willing to bring it to Soliarenko. Like she was like kind of kicking her ass at times and then not doing much. It was a frustrating fight. But yeah, Soliarenko, that's probably it for her in the UFC. Fernandez, I'm not a fan, but she's dangerous. She's solid. She's a good athlete. She's kind of smart too. I wish she was more aggressive though. The opener was Eryk McConico versus Cody Brundage. This was contested at light heavyweight, despite both guys being middleweights. Somewhat short notice, I guess. Um, I just watched round 2 and 3. No, I just caught round 3 actually, which I thought Cody Brundage won. Like McConico was like walking forwards. Commentary were saying, "Oh, this is his best round," and I thought Cody Brundage won that round. Like he was landing the better shots. He kind of stumbled McConico like twice. Bad optics for Brundage because he was looking tired. He was moving on the outside, but he was landing the more impactful shots. And then who was it? Was it Mark Berry? I think who told me like, no, second round was completely for Brundage. So yeah, I mean, I feel like Cody Brundage got like robbed bad because like even DC thought that Brundage lost the third, but he had the one and two on the in the bag. So I know, man. Cody Brundage, man, the strangest of lucks out there. Like just wild, man. Um, I mean, a tweet last week about like Cody Brundage having like every kind of result that you can have in topology. This guy has like no contest, DQs, win, losses, draws, canceled fights, upcoming fights. He has it all, man. Yeah, man. We have very few fight announcements, so let's get into those. Um, Jacqueline Amorim is fighting Misuki Inoue, and I'm just talking about this fight because I like Misuki Inoue quite a lot, and she's finally back at 115, which I think it's the ideal weight class for her. So yeah, I want to see Misuki back, and hopefully she looks good. She's still pretty young, I feel. She started fighting when she was like 19, I think, or maybe 17. I remember she was not able to be on that first like strawweight tough because she was not old enough to drink, and they have liquor on the Ultimate Fighter house. But now that I think of, that was like 10 years ago, right? What else do we have? Ramis Barahimaj is fighting Austin Vanderford. This one is very interesting because both guys are very good wrestlers and decent strikers. I feel like Brahimaj, in the form that he has been showing lately, he's the better striker of the two. But Vanderford may be the better wrestler, especially in open space. Brahimaj has more of an MMA game where he takes down guys against the fence. Either way, it's an interesting fight. I like it. Chito Vera is fighting Ayman Sahabi, and oh man, I'm not ready for to. I'm not ready to see Chito losing to Ayman Sahabi, man. I'm not sure I have it in me, dog. But we all know Chito is not going to do anything. Sahabi is going to try to win, and he's going to win most likely. I mean, Chito is just so much better, man. When he tries, but then maybe Chito is like mentally broken now, and it's over. I don't know. I wish not, man. This would be like a new low for Chito. What else do we have? What else? Oh, the Bronx. Charles Oliveira is fighting Rafael Fisiev. We're calling him Rafael Fisiev this time because this one is going down at UFC Rio in October 11th. So this is the main event. 5 rounds. Not sure about Dubronx making this quick of a comeback after that bad knockout against Ilya Topuria. I feel like he's a pretty bad matchup for Fisiev, but Fisiev brings some interesting stuff to the question, especially because he can defend legs. I mean kicks, and he's strong in the clinch. I feel like Charles Oliveira again needs to pressure. I feel, even though it's like dangerous, that's where he has his best shot. Try to pressure, try to find body lock, take Fisiev down. For Fisiev, I think like the combinations body head, he needs to go hard with those. And be careful with the kicks. Do not get your kicks caught by Oliveira. But yeah, I mean Fisiev, like people forget, Fisiev is not a pillow fisted guy. He can bang. Ask Moicano. So if he can put like a big combination together, he might be able to put the Bronx out. So I'm not sure about Bronx taking a fight like this, like so soon after getting knocked out, man. But if he wants it, I hope the UFC threw good money at the Bronx, man. Bruno Silva is fighting in Peace of Mind Hyun Park. It seems like I'm talking non-stop about this guy lately. But yeah, very cool fight. Very cool fight. Bruno Silva, very well rounded. Very tough. We know that. So we'll see how Hyun Park deals with him because like Bruno Silva, very good grappler, dynamic on the feet, kicks hard. I feel like Hyun Park should have an advantage as a wrestler and as a striker, but Bruno Silva can mix it up. We'll see Hyun Park. I also rate very highly as a transition fighter. It seems like a very well matched fight. I like it. And we have uh, so Michel Pereira was supposed to fight Marco Tulio in a like the stupidest fight of dynamic Brazilians of all time, but Marco Tulio sadly is out. Carl Dawkins is back to the UFC. Very interesting because Carl Dawkins is like completely different matchup to Tulio. More of a like a um, slow twitch muscle fiber kind of guy, more of a durable guy, slower but like strong inside the clinch, very long, a very tricky grappler, but he still can strike decently well. But obviously, the very first round is going to be very dangerous for Carl Dawkins here in his UFC comeback. And we have I don't have the picture here, or maybe like let me save the picture like real quick. Let me add it here. Very quick. Excuse me. And we have this was just announced. Vicente Luque is fighting Santiago Poncinibio at UFC Rio 2. Both guys are overwashed. Um, this would have been so cool like 10 years ago. And this is a classic American top team versus Henry Hoof, right? But yeah, this is getting like 10 years too late. I mean, not 10 years, but like 7, right? These guys both were very good at one moment and kind of not anymore. Another layer to this is this is another like you can spin around this to be not only American top team versus Henry Hoof, but also Chile versus Argentina because Vicente Luque, I think his mother, Chilean actually, and Poncinibio obviously, Argentinian guy. So also Chile versus Argentina here. But yeah, this fight, thinking about this one just makes me sad right now. And obviously we have the pay per view on Saturday. I'm making my tape study right now. Um, a few good fights. Obviously, main event is Rikus Duplessis against Hamza Chimaev. Co-main event is Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. We have Jeff Niels versus Carlos Prates. That one goes crazy. Kenyon Neer versus Michael Page in a head-scratching moment of matchmaking. Tim Elliott versus Kaya Sakura. King Green versus Diego Ferreira. That one is a cool veteran fight. Way better than Peluque versus Poncinibio, to be honest. Gerald Mearshart versus Michal Oleksiejczuk in a duel of guys that Sriram and we both love. Jessica Andrade is fighting Lupita Godinez. That one is solid. Alexander Hernandez is fighting Chase Hooper. Edson Barbosa is Drakkar Close. Another like cool veteran fight. Brian Battle is back at middleweight and he's fighting Nursultan Rusiboyev. Karini Silva is fighting Diony Barbosa. And we have the Ultimate Fighter final between Olivier Idris versus Joseph Morales. I'm not sure yet if the other Ultimate Fighter final is also going down this Saturday. I don't know. I'll try to get that sorted out. So yeah, I'll be back with the full preview. Maybe tomorrow, maybe on Thursday. There's some things that I want to catch. Probably not tomorrow actually, because like I'll be doing a fight companion for Contender Series that I think it starts tomorrow if I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the comments. But if it is, I'll be like doing a live stream for that too. Uh, for those who are watching on YouTube, um, there's you can just click and buy the merch right now because we have finally linked the store right that down there. So check that out. And remember that if you want to support me, you can head over to Patreon for access to exclusive content. And that's it for the podcast, guys. Thank you so much for joining me as always. And I'll catch you guys very soon with more content throughout the week. Bye.